Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for One Piece Chapter 982. And okay, to start off, we do have to talk about that conversation between Marco and Neko Momoshi, because here's the thing. On a bare surface level, it does make sense that Marco wouldn't know what's going on or what had happened to Odin. But at the same time, if the context of this chapter is right, then it feels a little contrived that he wouldn't make any legitimate attempt to gather information, or hell, that he just doesn't know anything at all. Like, even by the standards of what we learned of Wano's whole idea, Wano's whole, well, pretty much closing off from the rest of the world, it just feels iffy that pretty much at no point did Marco even make any kind of attempt in order to gather, like, at least something, some kind of information from Wano. It just feels a little off to me in many respects. Um, it's like one of those very few times where, like, I have to admit, for much as good as Oda's writing is, that's the one very few times where it feels a little lazy. Just it feels a little lazy just to keep the whole mystique of Wano going, but even then, even then, with this current, with the timeline of this current chapter, you could still have, like, Oda could have still wrote it where he knew some small detail of what was going on, but he was just waiting for the right opportunity in order to strike and learn, like, the full truth of what was going on in Wano. Like, even just even just like even just the simple act of saying that pretty much even just the simple act of saying that basically even just the simple bit of knowing that Marco knew something was going on, that would have been enough. But no, he wrote it as like Marco didn't know jack shit of what was going on, which, again, I do get it in the sense of keeping the whole mystique and just enforcing just how tightly like Orochi and Kaido had closed off Wano from the rest of the world. But at the same time, again, in terms of Marco, it just feels off in some way. It just feels very off. Like, you could have wrote that in a different way. Um, and it just feels like just a pointless route to go in terms of how to write in terms of how to write this. I don't know. It's I again, I guess it shouldn't bother me too much, but there's an aspect here that says, okay, yeah, this doesn't sound right. But yeah. And weirdly enough, another thing that also kind of feels off, but still kind of funny, honestly, is I do find it kind of hilarious how I do find Denjiro's encounter with Sasuke kind of hilarious, in the sense where I do question how he took Sasuke out so easily, or basically caught him off guard so easily. But at the same time, it's just kind of hilarious how his old identity can still be used as a viable means to trick people. Although, considering what else happened in this chapter, I can't imagine that'll work much longer. But it was nice to know that in this brief moment, like, pretty much Denjiro still has the element of surprise in his corner. I'm also curious if there's and I think and the other thing with Denjiro's whole bit in this chapter, though, is that he basically asks Sasuke a simple question, which is, do you know the history of Wano? And because of that one single question, it does make me wonder if it, like, if there's anything that I can say about the Wano arc, it's that that one of the biggest themes about it going forward has been secrecy, and just based off what Denjiro said there, it makes me believe there's an element of Wano's history we still haven't been told about yet, and whatever that may be though, we don't know yet, but it is still, it's kind, it definitely gives off the vibe that whatever the history of Wano is that we haven't been told yet, it's definitely a bit more of a foreboding element to it compared to what was said, compared to what we know now. Now, one of the things with this chapter is that Kanjuro had arrived with Momonosuke, and this little turning point in the arc creates a very interesting dynamic, because as it was laid out, Kaido and Orochi were more or less notified too late in this chapter of the Alliance's attack, and as you can see, Orochi is basically going into full panic mode, and in that desperation, he's probably going to lower his guard even more than he was by just sitting back and waiting things to play out. But on the other hand, though, the fact that he's already going so far as to execute Momonosuke is in some ways throwing a problematic wrench into the whole plan itself. And from here, it's really going to be a matter of the key point to act is going to be in the very moment he lowers his guard. That's going to be when our heroes are going to when the opportunity for our heroes to save Momonosuke is going to be open and free. In fact, going off what I just said, I think the two viable means I can see right now is that either Denjiro is going to be able to use the element of surprise he still supposedly has with his identity save Momonosuke, or Luffy's going to arrive on the scene with Conqueror's Haki. That's the only two ways I can see Momonosuke really playing this out right now. Or actually, now that I think about it, holy shit! I just realized that we'll pretty much screw like Luffy coming in with Conqueror's Haki. What if? Now hear me out. What if if the execution more or less plays out as normal, but in Momonosuke's like fear and panic and just overall fear of being executed, what if he ends up awakening Conqueror's Haki? Like it would be an interesting, like that would be very interesting in the sense where it could be a moment that would definitely establish Momonosuke as like the true one true like leader of Wano. Like it's funny, but it's only now that I just think about it that the setup with Momonosuke being executed, it could be like Momonosuke's Luffy moment in Marineford, where he's just pushed so far that he just ends up awakening that power. Like, holy shit! Like, I just thought of that, but it could happen. Like, it really could happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did, honestly. Like, and if it does, I'm going to be jumping out of my seat if it happens. Like, Momonosuke wielding Conqueror's Haki for the first time. That I think that is going to be something very special, honestly. And yeah, honestly, just in general, the fact that we're going down this route of possibility of Momonosuke being executed, yeah, that's pretty dark. That's probably one of the darkest turns we've taken in One Piece for a while, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, One Piece has had some very dark moments, but executing a kid, oh boy, that's on some like freaking, that's on some freaking like, that's on some freaking what is it? celestial dragon levels of corruption, levels of dark. Um, all that aside, though, the rest of the chapter was pretty much just the pure chaos erupting on Onigashima, and there's two things definitely to talk about, which is that with Nami's confrontation with Prometheus, her climate attack started acting up, and while it could very well be Zeus freeing himself, I think it's more than likely Nami's about to receive a power upgrade of some kind, and if I had to take a shot in the dark as to what that might be, I wouldn't be surprised if Zeus being trapped for so long has caused his power to leak out and is not only going to give Nami's more offensive abilities a major power boost, but I think one thing that we should probably expect from this point on is that her control of the weather, her control of the weather is probably going to evolve and grow and get much greater to the point where if you really think about this, if what Zeus could add such a power up to Nami that she probably wouldn't even be able to, she probably won't just be conjuring up simple thunderstorms, but probably all like Nami could potentially like be able to control all manner of weather phenomenon after this. Like I'm talking like typhoons, twisters, like any and all kinds of weather phenomena. Like pretty much she won't just be limited to just what to just like a mere thunderstorm. Like she will be able to create much more, I think. Yeah, and of course the big one, which is that Luffy has come face to face with Ulti in page 1, and someone I think said it in another review, but I think it's appropriate to call this the Blue No fight of Wano. This is going to be like Luffy's first real test to showcase just what exactly he learned and how prepared he really is for the big fight with Kaido. Although I am interested, one thing I am more interested about is the dynamic of the fight itself, because the more I think about it, the more I realize Ulti and Luffy do have very similar emotional tics. And although I'm not going to go into crazy theories yet, I don't think Oda did that unintentionally either, but we'll see. I'm not going to give into that crazy theory just yet. But so we'll just have to see. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.